Thank you for choosing to spend some of your time with Andreas and I. We're really happy to have you, and I think you're going to get value from this based on the content that our teams have put together. This is an exciting pairing that we're really eager to introduce you to. And in fact, many of our mutual clients have been using Trust and Will and Snappy Kraken together for a year now. And we've got some results of some of the benchmarking and the data around that to share with you. So, Andreas, thank you so much for joining us today. Really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Robert. Really excited for today's conversation. To your point, we have some really good data, some stats, and a good takeaway. So, very, very much looking forward to today's conversation.
Yeah, likewise. And we do want to let you all know that you can submit questions throughout this presentation. There is a Q&A feature, which our teams are on standby to answer questions in the chat very quickly for you. Other questions that need to come to us to answer live, you can use the Q&A feature for that, and we'll see those. So if you chat, it's mostly our teams. If you use the Q&A, it's mostly us. Just a little clarification for you. And then also, we want to let you know that everybody will get a file after this with a link to the recording and some actual sample content that you can use in your own marketing that the teams have collaborated on and put together for you. So feel free to submit your questions, and thank you for paying attention through this till the end when we will have another offer for you. So let's start with a question. Let's do a quick poll. Let's just drop this in the chat. We don't have a poll queued up, but I'm going to see if anybody can guess. What's the number one service that investors want, but advisors don't offer? The number one service. Now, this is a hard one. If you weren't in this particular webinar today, it would probably be a lot harder. So let's see what the chat is saying. Let's see. All right, everybody's got it. Trust documents, estate planning, trust and estate planning. Well, we knew you'd probably know, but we wanted to drive the point home. Thank you for participating. Good sports. So Orion's 2025 investor survey found that estate planning was the number one desired service offering for investors, which, by the way, I can speak to. So I just want to let you know personally, I'm a high net worth individual. I have my estate plan, I have my business, I have my personal assets, and I'm trying to go through this process of setting everything up for my estate. About a year ago, I finally got serious about it. And working with my advisor and my estate planning attorney together made a big difference. There was a lot of things that they had to collaborate on. They had to be in the know about. And that enabled me to have a really comprehensive plan. And the attorneys have been involved, the advisors have been involved, the CPA has been involved, and everything is unified. And that gives me a tremendous amount of peace of mind. Investors want that. Your clients want that. The data shows that they want it. And when you implement this, you do get better results in your growth. So Andreas is going to talk through today why this is the ultimate talk trigger, why this does drive growth and referrals. And to let him get started down this path, he's going to share some of their latest research with you. So Andreas will give you the floor.
Amazing. Very, very excited to go over this. So we've always had the assumption, Robert, on how does estate planning like truly impact financial advisors? And we started to hear the stories on I get more FaceTime, I meet with more of my clients, I'm able to open up the conversation more and more about next gen planning, who's named in the estate plan, and really increasing the visibility. And earlier this year, we're like, we got to get some data behind this, right? Like, so we surveyed 300 financial advisors nationwide. And to note, this is both advisors using Trust and Will, and half of them were not using Trust and Will. So we wanted to make sure we delivered data that was unbiased and that would really painted a very clear picture. And the data is very telling. There's theme number one, which actually highlights a lot more of that Orion study that you shared, Robert. And the big takeaway is your clients are expecting this. So when a client or even a prospect actually is looking for a financial advisor, somehow they actually have a preconceived notion that as an advisor, this is part of what you do and you help clients with. And the stats actually behind that shows that 70% of consumers believe that advisors should be offering estate planning. Deeper into that, 37% think it's essential, and 33% of them believe it's a valuable add-on. So, as a prospect looking for an advisor, I have this kind of preconceived. I might be looking at a website, I might be looking at a recommendation that I got from a friend or colleague. And that is something that when they look at your website or they meet with you for the first time, in the back of their mind, if you don't bring it up, they might have this, they walk away and say, gosh, they didn't bring up estate planning, and how important it is for you as an advisor to really talk about the importance of estate planning. And then obviously we'll talk more about what does offering estate planning actually mean, because we know you're not attorneys, you're not drafting documents, but how do you leverage technology, education, and really drive accountability? And then the second one is, if I was still a licensed advisor, and actually, Robert, let's go back one slide really quick, because this is a really, really important one, is there's actual clients that work with an advisor that told us in a study that says, gosh, if my advisor doesn't offer estate planning, I would actually consider switching to an advisor that offers estate planning. So this is how much they value estate planning. And to me and to us, it really makes sense. Like a lot of the financial planning that you're doing, the college planning, the saving for retirement, saving for that dream home, it's all life stages, right? And estate planning correlates so closely with life stages. So to recap, takeaway number one, your prospects and your clients are expecting it. And there's some of your clients that might actually consider switching to an advisor that offers estate planning. So really, really important data there. The second takeaway is how it's actually helping you drive growth. This is your peers, this is competitors. So the study went deeper into saying, how has estate planning truly impacted your business? So, first one, 55% increase in number of clients. We'll talk about the talk trigger that Robert talked briefly at the very beginning, but how advisors are actually leveraging estate planning to uncover key people in the estate plan and to naturally get referrals.
Hey, Andreas, I had a
Second,
question about this data point
of
real quick.
course,
It's so impressive is why it's such a big number. So the increase in the number of clients, is that the number of new clients they're acquiring? So in the rate of acquiring new clients, or is because I'm sure they didn't double their households overall. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. In other words, the pace of client growth has more than doubled when they implement estate planning. Is that
correct. So rate of acquiring new customers, spot on. And we'll talk about that in the case study that we're going to highlight. But in short, it's really all about the natural referrals and uncovering of key people that lead to that referral that leads to a number of new clients.
yeah.
Second one is improved client retention. So if we were to say, gosh, but what would your clients prefer to get a call you? What would they prefer if you call them about? To do a review on their portfolio, or to say, hey, I got a notification about a life event, and I think it's really important for us to talk about it, and the importance of updating your estate plan, right? So really making sure that your clients and their estate plan is updated depending on their life events. Did they get married? Did they move states? Did they have a kid for the first time? And a lot of times as a client, they forget the importance of making those updates. So for you as an advisor to have that visibility really just increases that client retention. And then the second two, again, all about growth. So 41% growth in AUM through existing clients. And again, this is all about how do you get visibility on what your clients have? Do you manage all their assets? Are there assets that you may not be aware about? And how our technology and platform really helps you streamline that visibility? And then again, we'll talk about more about the client referrals, but it's all about your client's complete an estate plan. How does that impact your business long term on getting referrals from people named in your estate plan, their neighbors, their friends, and the impact behind it? So all about growth. And when we look at advisors and most of our partners, when they come to us and say that is a priority of mine, is how do I continue to better serve my clients, deepen relationships, but ultimately, how do I grow my book of business? So really, really good data that we're excited to share on the impact that estate planning has on financial advisors and growth.
Yeah. Makes a huge difference. I would not be using an advisor that didn't have a deep connection with estate planning personally, because all the things, just even right down to how accounts should be titled and what goes in the trust, and making sure, trying to translate all that from the attorney to the advisor and get them on the same page is so much different than having them be on the same page from the beginning. So I know why this
Yeah.
drives growth.
And I think, Robert, I mean, I think back on my 10 plus years ago when I was formally licensed, estate planning used to be a very reactive process. It's advisor potentially referring out or handing out a business card to an attorney. But a lot of times the advisors didn't really, weren't that proactive, weren't that involved in it. So now financial planning is at the core of what advisors are doing. So the more that advisors have visibility and have that proactive approach to estate planning, this is the true impact that we're seeing from it.
This is an incredible slide. I'm glad everybody is seeing the impact to growth from the perspective of the advisors. So we see the consumer side of things. We also see the advisor side of things. This is from the research that Trust and Will has done. I want to add a third dimension to this, which is marketing data, because what this all does together, the three pieces really build a case for why this is such an important aspect of a modern advisory practice. So consumers expect it. Advisors get more growth when they implement it. And third point, their marketing also performs better. So we analyze hundreds of thousands of campaigns every year, over 250 million data points that we look at every single year for tens of millions of contacts. And so the survey data is self-reported. This is data that actually we see black and white, whether they are clicking, whether they are reading, whether they are opening. And so even if there's a confirmation bias or something like that, it's really stripped out in this scenario. It's just, what are they actually doing? What is the behavior showing? So I want to point a few things out. First of all, we run dozens of lead gen campaigns at any given time for our clients. Most advisors are running 7 or 8 funnels because each funnel is going to bring in opportunities from different places. And all of our data on what drives growth in the modern advisory practice is that they have to market several different things generally at the same time to drive consistent growth, because they ebb and flow. There's times of year when some topics are more popular or timely. But there are 2 topics that consistently outperform, and estate planning is one of them. And in fact, the average conversion rate on estate planning campaigns is 25.7. So that means of all the people that advisors are putting to these campaigns or exposing to these campaigns, there is roughly 25%, 26% engagement, which is huge. If you go look at your marketing data, your engagement on your campaigns, to see over 25% engagement, and let me break down that engagement just a little bit more. When we actually look at the nature of the engagement, it's meaningful engagement. And here's what I mean by that. So these are 2 examples of campaigns. So the one on the left we created in partnership with Trust and Will last year. The one on the right we already had on our system, but they are both, they serve different purposes. The one on the left is a visual insights campaign. It's designed just to provide education. The one on the right is a lead generation campaign. So that's why it has a third data point. Now, what's interesting about this is when we market estate planning, we see high open rates. So you can see north of 25%. That's way above the industry average. We see higher click rates. Now, this is where it's mind-blowing. I have to say these click rates are absolutely mind-blowing, because if they open the email, that's good. But both of these campaigns have emails that drive traffic to a landing page. And in the first example, almost half of the people that opened the email went to the landing page. In the second example, 63%. That's a lot of engagement. That's a tremendously high engagement rate. And what it shows is that consumers are begging for this information. They want to understand these things. And by the way, we'll show you some new campaigns we created with Trust and Will here in a little bit that go even deeper into what they want and the biggest questions they have. But the third thing I want to point out here on this slide is that the conversion rate, which means the percentage of people who visited that page and then asked for more information about estate planning from the advisor, is 3.7%. So if you think about that, for every 100 people that you get to view this landing page, you're going to basically generate 4 leads. That's essentially what it
That's
means.
amazing.
So you put this at the top of your website. You put this on your social profiles. You know that if you drive, you send this out to your old list of contacts that didn't take action before, they didn't become a client right away, they're in your database, reactivate them. Every 100 people that visit this page, 4 are going to say they want to talk to you. That is really powerful, and it speaks to all the data in the Trust and Will report as well.
Yeah, and Robert, this is why also last year we were so excited to launch this partnership with you, because we had so many advisors that came to us and say, I love the content Trust and Will has, but how do I make this simple and easy to really implement into my lead list, into engaging with my existing clients, and to your point, websites. It's also a big part of the story that you're essentially portraying of the services that you're offering. And the stats talk, very clear. Clients want more education on what happens to my assets and, more importantly, to my loved ones. And I want to have that education. And your role as an advisor is really going to help drive that education that leads to action, that leads to more financial planning and value from your end.
Yeah, well said. So on this point, we're going to break down the details of these campaigns, show you the whole flow, show you some new content here in a little bit. But let's go back to this point about really the crux of this, which is that referrals and growth come from implementing estate planning and why it's a growth lever. So, Andreas, I know you have some things to speak to on this point.
Absolutely. So let's kick this off. This is one that we were very excited about, and again, this is diving deeper into the data that we got. So first and foremost, and Robert can go to the next slide. Advisors and your clients, you're getting personal. And in one of our earlier studies that we actually did in Q2 of this year, it actually showed us that 43% of clients are already sharing family dynamics with their advisor. So there's a lot that you're doing as an advisor. You're getting to know their dynamics, their family, who's are their kids, why are they doing all the financial planning or even hiring you as an advisor? What are their fears with money? And we're actually seeing that 18% share everything. I mean, they're good. You're probably like, okay, you're telling me a little too much at some points, but at the end of the day, what we're seeing is you have done an amazing job of building that trust. So once you have that information about building trust and you have the family dynamics, is how do you leverage that into your financial planning practice? And I'm going to show you a story on how we're seeing actually advisors do that. Second, and we can go, yep, retention and competitive edge. So we have shown two studies now, one the Orion, second ours, on how estate planning is a differentiator for you in your business. So when a client comes to you and they start to build that financial plan with you, how are you really leveraging estate planning, not just as a one-time conversation topic, but how do you leverage estate planning on making sure that you're proactively reaching out to your clients when they have different life stages? So last thing that a client says is, gosh, I have all my assets with this advisor. We love them, but we have no estate plan in place. We have no idea. They like mention it once. So really making sure that your clients feel when they work with you that you have that full service advisory firm, that you're really delivering that value. And what we're now really seeing is when a client completes an estate plan, they talk about it. And I've interviewed like three of our top, specifically LPL partners, because LPL had some inquiries for us on like the impact of estate planning. And we talked to a firm, and I said, gosh, like we did literally a 30-minute interview. And I said, how is estate planning helping you? How is our platform since you started onboarding it? And they actually started sharing that literally they talk about trust and will as hashtag talk trigger. So within the first 90 days, when they onboard new clients, it's all about those touch points that make the client feel that this is the process that this firm promised that they were going to take me through. And they're leading with estate planning. I think it's either in the first or second meeting that they're making sure that the client understands, here's what estate planning is. Do you have an estate plan? If not, they are actually taking on that accountability to say, these are your next steps, either through an attorney or we partner with Trust and Will as a resource for you. And the impact is literally that a client goes through and they complete the estate plan. They go to with two examples they actually shared: soccer practice. So mom goes to soccer practice. They recently started working with the advisor, and they just tell their friend, the soccer mom, we got an estate plan done this past weekend. And that friend is like, oh my gosh, like we've been meaning to get this done. Who did you do it through? And then the whole story is around through my financial advisor, who now offers estate planning through Trust and Will, et cetera. However they position it. But long story short, that clients that recently onboarded with this firm is now referring clients or clients that literally said, "Can you make an introduction? We've been meaning to talk to an advisor. We've been meaning to get the estate plan done. So this talk trigger has been a super successful story that we're seeing. And I think that's just on one fold, which is referrals, which leads to new clients. But the second, it's all about uncovering assets from existing clients. So a client goes through, they create an estate plan, pre-trust and will, it's been very hard for you to have visibility on the documents, on the assets, on the people named inside the document. So as more and more advisors are like really prioritizing financial planning, we're seeing that the more visibility you have, the more visuals you have of what's in the estate plan, it's really helping you to lead to uncovery and growth of AUM of those existing clients as well.
The talk trigger terminology is actually really good for advisors to even use when they seed the idea with their clients. So, for example, some advisors will use this and they'll say, if you, because clients are very appreciative of this kind of work. It's very intimate. They have to talk about a lot of things. They open up. They feel successful when it's done. It's a real accomplishment. And so often they'll thank the advisor. Thank you so much for helping me do this. I really appreciate this. And that's a great thing to remember to say, well, actually, if you meet anybody that doesn't have these important estate planning documents, make sure you tell them about us. We can help them. And that lets clients know right away that you want those introductions. You're actually seeding that. And I talked to an advisor recently who actually one of the best sources of referrals are the kids of their clients because
Yeah.
they will in the estate planning conversation they'll talk about how this money is going to go to the kids and their clients will say things like, oh well, my kids have their own money. Well, then it's even more important that we actually plan properly because this could trigger other tax consequences and issues for them if we don't. So we should talk to the kids about your estate plan and how it's going to impact them and the best way to get it to them. Let's pull them into the conversation. Then all of a sudden you have their affluent kids who are, already practicing law or medicine, and they're coming into the office and being part of these conversations. So we see this in a practical sense as well among our clients. And I think you have an example as well that you were going to talk through, Andreas.
Yeah. So I mean, this is really the soccer example. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
really
that's right. I
built.
should have had it up. Sorry.
It's all good. That's so good. It's all about, again, building this early into the process and other advisors. This is literally as part of that discovery with a prospect is, do you have an estate plan? I
Mhm.
want to walk you through the process that we actually guide clients through because of how important it is.
Yeah.
And then Robert, to your point, this is actually a perfect segue to add on to what you're talking about. There's a couple different studies here that were done years ago. We won't quote them today because I don't have them in front of me, but it's something like 90% of the time when a client passes, those assets leave the firm, right? So I think what we've seen historically is as advisors, there hasn't been a full on process on how do I build next gen planning into my practice with our platform. And how we help advisors is, imagine a way where a client sets up an estate plan. They go through the process. It's simple, it's intuitive. You get notified and you have visibility. But more importantly, you can actually dive deeper with your clients to say, hey, as you drafted documents with trust and will, you have access to an estate plan report. One, drive education. Believe it or not, your clients might complete the process, but they want to make sure that they fully understand what is it that they created, how does it impact life events in the future, and then more importantly, imagine a way where you can have full visualization of who's the successful trustee, who are the children? Have they talked to you about them? So a natural segue where we've seen a lot of success is an advisor might say a successor trustee or a guardian, very important roles. Do they know who I am as your financial advisor? If something's to happen, would it be beneficial for you to make an introduction just so that they know who I am and how I can help in case something comes up? And most clients are going to say yes. Like, thank you for offering that. Because at the end of the day, everything they're doing with you is all about the people that are named in these documents. So, really good segue. We have many advisors that will go above and beyond and say, your kid is turning 18, they're going off to college. I love to help them set up the attorney, trust and will, their power of attorney, their HIPAA. I can educate them on a 401k and what that looks like if they're going to be working in college. So all about like going above and beyond and really making sure that you're driving that education that at the end of the day for your clients or even your prospects, you are providing that full service offering that's very comprehensive, and estate planning is very, very top of mind into your service model.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those examples. I think it's very powerful, and we obviously already have the data, right? It's laid out. People, the majority want this. The majority of prospects want this. They are actually looking for it from their advisors. That's established, not just by Trust and Will, by Snappy Kraken's data, by third-party data from Orion. I mean, this is a way to actually offer what consumers expect. So if you're going to offer something, you should be marketing it. Obviously, people need to know that you offer it, or they're not going to necessarily choose you. So how can you do that? How can you market it effectively? So we'll spend some time on some of the strategies that have really been working for us, how to actually drive conversations around it. Andreas covered some ways to set those talk triggers, have those conversations, teach your clients to have those conversations. But also you can do it in an automated way as well and supplement your existing pipeline. So here's some ways that our advisors are doing that successfully, and whether you use Snappy Kraken or another marketing service, you should be doing this. So even if you're not using us, like pay attention to some of these tactics because they can be very effective for you as well. Now, what I'm going to show you here is a little bit intimidating. I know when you first look at it, but I'm going to give you an example, what I think is one of the foremost examples of how to leverage estate planning to drive differentiation for yourself when people are in a sale process. You probably know that 68% of the leads that advisors work are also simultaneously being worked by other advisors. And so what you want is differentiation. Now, if you know that 48% of advisors don't offer estate planning, and you do, congratulations. If you focus on the value of estate planning as part of your funnel for these new prospects, you can eliminate half your competition. I mean, it's really that simple. So how do we do this? Well, this is an example of a fully automated workflow that leverages the estate planning lead generation campaign, which we showed you the data on, that has the estate planning guide and has that, roughly 4% conversion rate on anybody who gets to the landing page. So this is how we use it. So first of all, when a lead comes in from any source, we don't want to send estate planning material to somebody for whom it's not relevant. That applies to anything, right? You don't want to send retirement content to somebody who's not retired, and vice versa. College planning content to people whose kids are out of the house. But those are the mistakes advisors make all the time. They just send the wrong thing because they send the same thing to everybody. But let's take an example of where this can be so powerful. The lead comes in and they get the standard immediate welcome response from your firm. Maybe a little bit of credibility building, maybe a welcome video, something just to acknowledge that they've come in from your website or a referral or a lead gen source, something to start the relationship. That can happen instantly. But within a matter of minutes, what you should be doing is enriching the data on that contact so you can find out what is the persona of that contact, so that engagement that is persona appropriate can begin. So for example, let's say you have a high earner, not rich yet, comes into the pipeline. You see their age, they're enriched, you see they have beneficiaries, you see where they work, like the system actually knows this is persona appropriate content. So you don't have to know it, but the AI can analyze the contact record that's been enriched and determine that this is appropriate content, and begin to nurture them with estate planning content. So now they're going to get a series, not a single thing, but a series of emails, text messages, social posts, things directing them back to estate planning content. For example, the guide, which now anchors you as the advisor who can help them with estate planning content. This process should continue. So what is this estate planning guide? Are you just attaching it to an email? Well, usually that's not enough. This is a breakout down below of what a whole campaign looks like. All these components, the emails, the text messages, the landing pages, the follow-up. It usually takes 8 to 10 follow-ups on a digital lead, typically, to get them to book a meeting with an advisor. So use estate planning. Use estate planning here, because if you have, let's say you have a general funnel, maybe you have one for retirees, one based on estate planning, one based on taxes, you're going to have this well-rounded set of nurture sequences that can convert leads at a very high rate. And if you don't even have time or energy to do all that, estate planning is one of the most universal topics because young families need it, accumulators need it, And yes, you'd be shocked. I'm sure Andreas probably has data. He can spit it out probably on even the number of retirees that don't have their estate planning in order. So you could take one of the highest converting campaign topics, put it as your nurturing sequence, and automatically begin converting leads. So what we recommend is that go into your entire strategy. Make sure that it's part across every channel. Make sure that it's incorporated, woven into your social media strategy every 5 or 10 posts. Make sure it's featured on your LinkedIn profile. Make sure it's featured on your website. If you're going to be a full service firm, make that clear. Potentially even use it as a call to action on your website. And that's why because we see this working, if you were here earlier, you saw the data. It's why we're producing even more content in partnership with Trust and Will to make this even easier for you. So we've already got core campaigns. We shared some data, but now here are some new ones. Andreas, maybe you could speak a little bit to how we got to this point, this topic, and what we're building together to supplement the marketing strategy advisors have around this.
Absolutely. So we have, gosh, hundreds of articles on estate planning, and we said, with you and the team, Robert, what is the best and easiest way for us to look at our top performing content? And we drive like 100 and 150,000 customers to our website just from our Learn Center. So one, like, I want to just double down on like how many people every day are looking for estate planning content. And we said, we know that Snappy Kraken has an amazing marketing engine that can really help deliver this timely content. So we essentially worked and said, what's our top performing content? How do we make it as easy as possible for an advisor to be able to plug this into their workflow and their marketing calendar, kind of depending, and Robert, to your point, which I think is very well said, it's more and more about sending content that resonates with the life stage that your client might be in. Are they looking to buy a home? Are they looking to move states? Are they getting close to retirement? And what is that content that's going to resonate with them? And we actually started to build in some video resources as well. We've actually done some video trust and well. We said, gosh, hey, Snappy team, can we build some of this video content inside some of these new campaigns that are going to be available? We all know video content is great. It's short. We have short attention spans most of the time. So how can we make it even easier for your prospects or even clients to understand estate planning, and without having to spend time kind of reading through it? So it's all now going to be available here in October. There's going to be the landing page, the questionnaire. It's going to be a video. Most of your prospects have a question about what's a trust, what's a will, what's the difference? Am I ready for an estate plan? So our content team has done a great job with your team, Robert. I'm really building this into an easy, digestible way for an advisor to start to plug into their workflow and really make sure that they're standing out as clients are potentially visiting your website. And something I was going to add on, Robert, is you had that example on that landing page for the advisor. I saw like last week we saw a new advisor in his firm go live with Trust and Will, and they posted about it on LinkedIn and they tagged us. So I went to the post and I saw like two comments, and I don't know if they were. I'm assuming they're those comments were existing clients of the firm, but literally it said, "This is very exciting. We've been wanting to get this done. Can you send us more details?" So it's like it's amazing. The more that you are really telling your audience that estate planning is core to your service model and how you provide this as part of your financial planning, the impact what you has is very, very exciting. And on my end, gosh, I think a couple different stats on this, but I think it's like 50 to 60% of people still don't have any estate planning in place. And if less than 50% of advisors are really offering this, imagine the opportunity that you'll have to say, great, here's an easy and simple way for me to plug this into, the landing page, my landing page, contents when people are visiting and inquiring more about my services. Education.
Yeah.
Education on what they care most about is really, really important.
Yeah, and the content is some of the best performing that you have. So now we're putting it in the hands of the advisors, which, I'm excited. I just want to break this down for a minute because it's got a lot to this, even though you're only looking at one campaign. The two work together in a really neat way. So there's the landing page. It's not just posting a video, you're posting a video on a page.
Yep.
And the page is simplified. So the video lives right above a form where they can submit their questions and ask for help. So you're driving the traffic to consume the content and take action. and you're promoting it. It's not just out there in the ether waiting to be found on YouTube. It's also being promoted. There's an email to promote it, 3 social posts to promote it. If they watch the video and submit a form, they're taken to a confirmation page where you can include a booking link right to your calendar, or a link for them to begin the process right with Trust and Will and do that full intake. So that can be customized. And then they get a follow-up email. Now, people may or may not immediately respond to you, even on a campaign like this. So the other campaign is a series. There's actually 6 emails. Now you can use this to either follow up on somebody who's taken interest on the first campaign. They're automated. They go out every week over 6 weeks. Or you can use it to nurture existing prospects that may be in your database. And everything is it's very well written. They're very professional. They've been compliance reviewed. They've been sent up to FINRA for review. You can edit everything, edit the colors, edit the pages, make your own version of the video if you want to, edit the text, really make it your own. But they exist on the system. So essentially, I know what we showed you here was complicated, but believe it or not, those 2 campaigns and our system with Trust and Will execute on all this for you. So you really can take people from cold to that personal process where they're now warmed up and they're actually engaging with you. So this is all part of the campaigns that we've created here with Trust and Will. And they are very simple. So like this is just an example, whether the person is on desktop or mobile, they get a text message, they get an email, it links to the page, there's the video, there's the questions, and just makes it very, very simple for them to take action. The other thing I want to let you know is that this is really just a small subset of the overall content library that we have at Snappy Kraken. So if you use Trust and Will, if you use other key providers in this industry, it's likely we have content to support them, or at the very least, content for different things like lead generation, prospect nurturing, client onboarding, surveys, holiday and milestone messages, all different audiences and niches. And these templates are all just that. They're proven, they're ready to use, but they are templates. So you can completely make them your own, brand them to your firm, and really stand out with this as well. Now, at this point, we are going to take questions, and I'm going to let Andreas kind of run Q&A for us. You may have questions. We'll check the chat and the Q&A. Please submit them now if you haven't already. And while you're queuing up all your great questions, I want to show you that if you are a Snappy Kraken customer, but you're not a Trust and Will customer, and you want to learn more about Trust and Will, please go to this link. Here's a QR code to book a demo with Trust and Will to learn more about what they do and their very, very, very competitive pricing and how simple it is. It's really an excellent solution. And then if you want to learn more about Snappy Kraken, if you're a Trust and Will customer, there is also this demo link here. Now I'll leave these up. I'll kind of go back and forth for a few minutes while we take questions. And let's go ahead and get that started now. I think we've got a lot of questions in the chat, Andreas. So hopefully, can you see
Let's
those?
do it to it. Absolutely. Yeah. So first question, which I actually love from Brittany, is do you provide a checklist of items that would be helpful helping a client prepare for starting their Trust and Will? And yes. And I'll tell you, Brittany, this is actually one of our most used PDFs that we actually have, because again, it's all about uncovering opportunities, deepening relationships. So, there's the advisor that might just send a link or referral to an estate planning attorney and just like, hey, go do it. Or there's the client or the advisor that says estate planning is actually part of my financial planning process. My role is to educate you and drive the next steps for you to either go through an estate planning platform like Trust and Will or through an attorney. But at the end of the day, once your clients understand what estate planning is and the decisions that they need to make, so that PDF, Bernie, is one of the most used PDFs that we actually have. And Caroline is asking, how does Trust and Will create trust if they're not an attorney? So we actually have 350 attorneys nationwide that we partner with. So if a client comes to Trust and Will through their advisor, we as a company are not a law firm, but we do contract out with estate planning attorneys nationwide. So a client says, yes, I want legal advice. This is the state that I live in. We actually engage and bring in our attorney partners directly through our platform. So we make that process simple, easy. What your clients get, access to an attorney in that state. They literally book a day and time that works for your clients, and they're able to get that personalized legal advice as they go through that process. So simple, intuitive. Robert, this might be a question for you. I use FMG. How does Snappy Kraken integrate with them?
We don't integrate with FMG. FMG is a competitor of Snappy Kraken. Snappy Kraken was rated the number one in value, service, and integrations for advisors by Kits' latest technology study. So we view ourselves as a better alternative to FMG. So frankly, if you came to us, we would love to earn your business and migrate you off of that platform, bluntly. But if you wanted to use Snappy Kraken just for marketing, and keep your FMG website, you are welcome to do that. Some firms do. We actually have an AI lead capture feature, which if any leads actually come through your FMG website, most advisors don't get leads that way, but if you do, our system can capture them and put them into campaigns and nurture them for you. So that was an interesting question. We don't usually get asked about our competition, but I gave it to you straight.
I love it. Steven's asking, what advice do you give clients for naming a successor trustee? Family member or licensed professional fiduciary? Stephen, great question. That is where our attorney network can really provide that personalized advice when it comes to that dynamic. In most cases, if it's, a client's, gosh, I'd probably say maybe under $1 million in assets, a lot of times they might look for a family, a trusted contact to add a successor trustee. And then a lot of times, because there are some private trust companies that have minimums. So it could depend on, is it 500,000 or 1 million in assets that they might have for them to really start working directly with a professional successor trustee. But also, Stephen, we also have direct PDFs that are specific about what's a beneficiary, what's a trustee. So again, really, really, really driving that education when it comes to that. So I hope that helps. We have a few questions on, do we work with LPL? Yes, actually, both Snappy and Trust and Will are approved with LPL. We have, gosh, probably at this point, hundreds of LPL advisors using our platform. So this is also actually one of our big reasons why we're continuing to invest in our partnership together is how do we deliver more and more value to advisors that are using both Trust and Will and Snappy and building these amazing, easy to use campaigns for you to really start implementing into your into your workflows.
I don't know about you, Andreas, but I know LPL negotiated pretty aggressive pricing discounts for their
Yes.
advisors as well for Snappy Kraken. So.
Actually, same with Trust and Will. So that is definitely something for you to take advantage of, as we have discounts if you're an LPL advisor. There's a question about Osaic, respectively, at Trust and Will. We are looking to get approval with Osaic, but today not currently approved. To answer your question directly. Questions around Trust and Will embedded with Redtail or Money Guide to link data. Robert, we do have an integration today with Wealthbox, and are looking at building an integration with eMoney potentially in Q4. Money Guide is probably in early next year that we're looking at. So our integration strategy, we're seeing more and more advisors adopt our platform. There's a lot of different tools that you're using. So that is part of our product strategy on how do we make the products stickier and make it easier from a workflow perspective. This actually being an example with Snappy Kraken.
Yeah, on that note, I don't know how you would be intending to use the combined offering there, Robert, but if you did use Snappy Kraken with Trust and Will and you were doing estate planning and marketing with us, the leads could come into Snappy Kraken and be synchronized automatically with Redtail because we do have that Redtail integration. And also from the campaigns, we can drive them directly into Trust and Will to start their estate plan. So the combination of your Redtail contacts coming to Snappy Kraken and the way we would market it, there is a way to get those folks into the Trust and Will system without having to do it manually. So I think there's probably a use case here for you, even if they don't have a direct integration.
Love that. Okay, another question for advisors. How do you avoid the unauthorized practice of law? Have you seen pushback on content around estate planning? It's funny you ask. We literally just had a meeting today with a very large broker dealer on this specific topic. And unauthorized practice of law is if you're providing legal advice if you're not a licensed attorney. So all the guidance, including LPL, including other very large broker dealers, is all about providing education via content. So as you can see in some of the content, when you get access to it, we're not essentially saying, hey, as an advisor, I can help you make these decisions. or I'd love to recommend a specific estate plan. But it's all about content that helps educate your clients on what is an estate plan, when should you consider updating the estate plan, what's a power of attorney. So again, no, we're actually seeing the opposite. Is the more that advisors drive education, the less of a liability that there is, because it's very clear what your role is around estate planning, which is educate and drive accountability. Second question we have here is, when Trust and Will completes one of my clients' estate plan and resulting documents, do you offer them and us guidance as to how beneficiaries listed, essentially trust funding? And Robert, you actually briefly touched base on this. And yes, this is actually something that we see a lot of advisors writing. So clients complete an estate plan, they get a trust funding guide that walks them through if you created a will or if you create a trust, if you have life insurance, if you have real estates, all those items that a lot of times create confusion, right? So we make that available for both clients and advisors. And then again, if the client's engaging with an estate planning attorney via our network, they can provide that personalized advice and recommendation on this asset versus that asset, because it can get a little bit complex. So we do provide that resource, and we are seeing a lot of advisors that dive deeper into this. And again, it's less of the check mark, my client got the estate plan done, but like really making sure my client's retitling the accounts. Are they going through that next step? Because it does make a huge value add for the advice for your clients.
Oh, the estate plan is a total waste of money if everything isn't titled correctly. And
Totally.
yeah, so I mean, this is where you would be amazed how many consumers will go to an attorney, have an estate plan built, and never get all their accounts titled for the trust, and then it's not even effective. So, this collaboration is just core to making estate planning successful, in my opinion.
Absolutely. We got, gosh, 4 or 5 questions on pricing. So high level. We have a pricing structure, and I think there's a few folks here that's a few advisors that said you're on our premium plan. Our premium plan is for advisors that really want to integrate estate planning into what you do. We have a model in which you can actually cover the cost of your clients' estate plans. So if they work with you, they're doing financial planning, estate planning is built into that fee. That's $4,800 a year. And again, if you're LPL and other broker dealers, we have some really good discounts, but it's $4,800 a year for you to get access to our platform and deliver complimentary estate plans for your clients. 2 questions here on Attorney Network. Definitely set up a demo. We don't have enough time to kind of go deep into it, but high level, clients would be paying $300 to engage and have access to that estate planning attorney in that state. They get access to the attorney for 12 months. So it's not a one-time 30-minute call. I better have all my questions ready to go. They can reach back out to that attorney in that state for your clients to have access to that legal advice. And then again, through our platform, you're going to have notifications. You're going to see when's the last time your client made an update. Has your client finalized the process? To Robert's point, have they funded the trust? Have they marked it notarized? We even have, when I first joined Trust and Will, I got my estate plan, and it took me months, honestly, to actually go through and like get it notarized and go through that process. So your role is to be that friendly nudge to your clients, because accountability is one of the big reasons why they're hiring you. And a couple of questions here, Robert, on I'm only seeing the estate planning lead generation campaign.
The
Is that
ones the
second?
ones we previewed today are all going live within the next week or so. So
That's why.
yeah,
That's why. I love it. I love it. Leah's like, give me access to it. I love it.
that's right.
And then Hartman, we don't pay referral fees for advisors referring to Trust and Will. This is actually how advisors are building this into their financial planning practice and engagement. But it could be seen actually as a conflict of interest if you're getting paid on a referral that you're making. So we don't have a referral model when it comes to that. And I think that takes us through all. Let me double check to make sure in both the Q&A and the chat. I think we're good, Robert.
I did see one. Somebody asked about adding Trust and Will to the website. If you're a Snappy Kraken customer, so you've got two ways you can do that. You can go in and add a page yourself to your website, or you can have us do it for you. It's really that simple. And if you have us do it for you, if you're just a website customer, we can add estate planning content to your website. if you are a campaigns customer, we can put a lead generation campaign, lead magnet on your website to actually drive conversions and leads from your traffic. So the answer to how to implement it to your website depends on if you just use websites or if you use websites and campaigns at Snappy Kraken. So if you have questions about that, please just contact our customer success team and they'll be glad to help you through that.
And with if you're example for example, if you're an LPL advisor, we also have a marketing toolkit specifically for LPL that kind of guides you through how to talk about estate planning on your websites, what's an ad, how to talk about it, all that good stuff as well. Did see a few more questions actually. So if you have clients with existing estate plans, can we do a review of that? And yes, absolutely. That's actually one of our new features that we announced last quarter. So client comes to you, maybe they're brand new, says, "Hey, I have an estate plan. I've last time I updated was 5 years ago. Here's what I've done since." And it's an amazing way for you to add more value. You can upload that estate plan. It delivers essentially a what's in the estate plan, who's in the estate plan, and again, more opportunities. If your client says, "Gosh, I need to make this updates," then that's part of that next step for you to kind of guide your clients through that process as well. And let's see. I think that's it. Look, there's a lot of questions specific to like the product demo links are included in the chat. So specifically for Trust and Will, specifically for Snappy Kraken. And as Robert talked about, very soon, this next new campaign will be live for you. So for the advisors that are just, very excited to drive next steps, the data's clear. Estate planning content is really helping your prospects get educated about something that they really care about. And two, it's really helping them meet with you as a financial advisor because that's what they're looking for. And then hopefully you saw the big impact that we're seeing as your peers, your competitors. Proactive estate planning leads to growth, leads to referrals, leads to more financial planning, which is what most advisors are really in the business to do. So super grateful for the time. Robert, any other thoughts on your end before we close out?
No, thank you all for joining us. Really good to have you with us, Andreas. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to continuing to work together with you guys and with our clients to keep driving growth with estate planning.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the time.